Hello, my name is Stu Jacobson with Washington Parents for Safe Childcare. Over the last few years, the disqualifying list of crimes allowed to be considered for childcare employment has become dangerously relaxed. The Washington Department of Children, Youth, and Families allows convicted felons to qualify for employment in a childcare facility with only 5 years of good behavior from the date of conviction. Parents are not even notified of this policy. What elected official would want their child or grandchild being cared for without their knowledge by someone on this disqualifying convicted felon list? Included in this list are some serious convictions, such as stalking, reckless endangerment, promoting prostitution, promoting suicide attempt, unlawful imprisonment. A Washington legislator charged with leadership on the Child Care Committee that considers rules and investments stated, "It's about forgiveness. It's about a second chance." Should our state policymakers risk leaving our child care population in harm's way? What happened to their oath to serve their paramount duty to ensure our children are their client? How can we ensure when a convicted felon is totally rehabbed? The Department of Children, Youth, and Families assert they use a character suitability test. The consumers, the parents, deserve to know about this disqualifying convicted felon list and how the character suitability is going to be measured and ensured. Inexplicably, the early learning child care facilities are not held to the same standards as K through 12, which requires 10 years of good behavior to qualify for employment. No nonprofit that serves our children in Washington State, such as Little League, the YMCA, Boys and Girls Club, would expose children to a potentially unfit employee. I invited Shana Roberts, whose son, David, died at the hands of a convicted felon, to address the state committee about her tragic loss. DCYF didn't even mention her name and her appeal in the minutes of the meeting. Let's remind Washington State that David's life matters. No child should die in licensed care. On behalf of David and all our children, please consider our petition and call the legislative hotline to remind our policymakers that our children's best interest is their legal duty. Our children's lives now depend on our voice. Yes, David Roberts' life mattered. Thank you.
David, he was great. He was 2 years old. He was always happy, and he was always really, really sweet. You know, he would come up and give hugs and kisses, and didn't even really have tantrums. He was very special. To know that not only felons can work in the child care, but they don't even have to use their legal names when they're working there it's absolutely ridiculous. What they're not telling you is that they don't have to tell you if they've committed a crime. They run background checks. And, you know, that's the comfort that a lot of people need to hear is, yeah, we run background checks, but what about them? You know, did they pass? Did they fail? Is there other problems to be aware of? If there's behavioral issues like aggression or alcohol abuse, you know, those are things that the department should be taking into account when they say, yes, this person can take care of children, because you want to know that you've got someone who's patient and caring and not prone to doing things like residential burglary or malicious mischief or stalking, theft, burglary. Those kinds of people are not people that you would say, hey, come watch my child for me while I go on a date. Come watch my child while I go to school. I don't think anyone who says, well, not all felons are bad, could turn around and then say they just let any felon that they didn't know anything about take care of the child. I don't think that they would. would you specifically be okay knowing that there's someone in the childcare who may not be using their legal name, who may have any of the 35 crimes or felonies on that list, and some of them are really severe? The man in my son's case, he couldn't even volunteer in any of his kids' field trips because he wouldn't pass the background check requirements. But they're letting him have unsupervised access to children. They're letting him run the daycare. They're not even telling anyone his real name, and he certainly isn't going to give that up. And that just, it's infuriating. And you try so hard to have someone hear you and say, hey, this is bad, this needs a change. And you get a lot of, yeah, it's horrible, horrible. Glad it didn't happen to me. And then they move on. I think that it really only becomes as real as it deserves to be once someone has lost a child or has had a child severely injured or abused or mistreated in any way. That's when it goes from this could happen to this does happen. And it can happen again. It's true that the background check results wouldn't make it perfect. There's going to be people out there who literally just are off their rocker and you never know. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't try to prevent it. Like airbags, you know that people are going to die anyway, but you don't stop using them. You have things in place to protect you and your children. And that's really important for daycare, not just in the car. It's important for life, for daycare, for school, for hospitals, for clubs, for sports. It's a lot more important than they're making it out to be. And I think they have to change that.